If you're trying to decide between ECAMM Live or OBS for video production or live streaming on your Mac, and specifically if it may be a slightly older Mac, then you're going to want to watch this video. Hello, welcome to Take One Tech. My name's Alec. So today we're talking about Open Broadcast Software, OBS, and ECAMM Live. Now I'm guessing if you found this video, then it's probably because you already have heard of one or both of those packages, and so you've got a bit of an understanding about exactly what they are. But for those that haven't heard of them, they are both broadcasting software packages that allow you to bring in multiple camera feeds, multiple video sources, multiple sound sources and images, and bring it all together to create a video production on the fly live. Now that can be either then fed over the internet to either YouTube, Facebook, or some sort of live streaming platform, or you can just produce something live and record it to disk. So as I say, they are both very similar in that respect, in that is what they do. However, one of the primary differences is that OBS, which stands for Open Broadcast Software, is an open source package, whereas ECAMM Live is driven by ECAMM, the company. And so that is quite a big crucial difference actually, because that does mean that there is a group of financially motivated individuals behind the software that are trying to drive it forward to make it as good a product as possible to have lots of happy customers, whereas open source software can sometimes not have the same level of support. Having said that, I do have to say that there is a very large community of users behind OBS, and so there are lots of sort of community forums and things like that to help you get answers if you do get stuck. Now, I did go down the OBS route initially when I was looking for a software package, and my use case was that I was making some training courses, and so I needed to have a piece of software that I could use to record the video feed of the course content being delivered, but then also bring in certain audio files, presentations, and video files and things like that. And I went down the OBS route initially because, well, why wouldn't you try the free one first? And I've got to say it was a pretty comprehensive piece of software and was very capable. The other thing about it being open source is that does mean it is more open for people to make plugins and things like that. So there were a lot of plugins available for quite sort of niche use cases. However, I've got to say that out of the box, it did all that I was looking for it to do, at least on the surface. But what I'll do now is I'll share with you exactly how the interface looks, just to give you a bit of an overview. So this is what the application itself looks like. You've got a window here which would be your video content that was coming in. There are different layouts. You can change this around, so you could have sort of side by side to see what's currently live, but what the next sort of queued up scene is. You've also got an area down here for your scenes, so where you can set up lots of different scenes. So by scenes, I mean much like I've got here on the screen at the moment. There's a picture of obviously me, and then we've got the shot to the side, which is an image of a monitor with the picture captured from the desktop within that. So this would be one scene, and then, you know, coming back to this picture straight on would be another scene. So you have that in here with the scenes area just down here where you can define what these scenes are, and then you also have different sources, so you can add in different camera feeds or a desktop view of the desktop or an audio feed, things like that, or you could queue up a video roll for something that you might want to roll in the window. So that would be what your sources are there, and then you've got an audio mixer. And then also something that here you can set transitions, so how to transition between the different scenes, and then you've got some controls for sort of start, stop and things like that, and start streaming, start recording and all that sort of stuff. So on the face of it, it looks a fairly straightforward interface. However, I do have to say, if you haven't used OBS before, when you do want to start doing some sort of slightly more complex things and bringing in the, just setting up the sources themselves, it can be a little bit tricky to actually get the settings just how you want. So things like if you're doing a camera feed and want to do green screen, chroma key, so key out the green background and add this over an image, there is a a little bit of a knack to doing that, and it's not necessarily the most intuitive. That said, you know, there are plenty of tutorials and things like that out there that you can sort of get something up and running with relative ease, I would say. However, the issue that I ran into was that when I actually came to do my recording on my older Mac, and when I say an older Mac, what I'm talking about here is a late 2013, so this is the spec of my Mac. It was top of the range when I got it, but that was 8 years ago now. So when you're using a decade-old computer, you've got to start thinking and worrying perhaps when you want to stretch them using things like video streaming and video production and stuff like that. So it was a concern for me. I was wondering how the software would hold up. So what I'm about to say is not really a criticism of OBS, because I do appreciate that I was expecting a lot of it with what I was trying to do, which was also running a PowerPoint presentation as well, which in itself can be a bit of a processor hog. There are other, perhaps better ways to do that. One way I could have done it was to have a second laptop and bring it in as a separate feed, so I wasn't actually running the presentation on the laptop itself. However, I've only got one laptop, so that was what I was working with. And what I found was when I was recording the video using OBS, I would notice a sort of dropping of frames. The frame rate was not quite so smooth. And so when I looked at the output, the quality of it was not quite there. I appreciate if I'd been running it on a much newer computer, it would have been a lot better. And the issue was entirely my processor power rather than the software itself. However, it was an issue I had, and so I was looking for a solution, and I came across another program, ECAMM Live, and I'm really pleased I did, because it basically saved me from having to upgrade my computer sooner than I would like to. I'm kind of holding out for the 16-inch M1 or M series MacBook Pro, so we'll see when that comes out. But in the meantime, I still need to get these videos done for my video course. So the difference with ECAMM Live is that it is a much more intuitive, user-friendly program. It's very Mac-like in that respect. And what I can show you now is if I just share my entire screen now, you'll see how it looks. So now you can see exactly what I'm seeing. There's the picture here, which is the preview window of what was going out just now, but then also you can see these other panels. Now, I've got them all open now just to show you. However, the beauty of it is that you can really sort of slim down the appearance of it so that you only have what you need. So, for example, if you're doing a live stream, you have a comments section here where all your comments and chat will come up, and you can just click on them and they'll come into the main window. But we don't need that at the moment because this is pre-recorded. When you're live as well, you can have bandwidth statistics, but again, we don't need that, so we can just simply close it down. You also have the option of having interview mode, which is built into it, so you can just simply switch this on, send out a link to somebody, and then they can just join your live. So, or if I wanted to add somebody into this recording, I could bring them in this way as well. And so I'll just close that down because we're not using that at the moment as well. So these are really sort of the main panels, emulating what I showed you in OBS earlier. We've got the scenes section here, where we've just got a series of scenes, and I'll go into those in a bit more detail afterwards. And then we've also got an area where we can add overlay. So for example, the overlay that I showed earlier is just simply a text overlay, and we can hide and show that. And then we've also got the camera settings. Now, compared to the setting up of a camera in OBS, it is far easier and simpler to add a camera here. We just simply select the camera we want. So I've got two cameras. We select the camera, and then, yeah, I've given the game away. I am actually using a green screen. But that's another thing that is really good in ECAMM Live, is that keying out the green screen is a lot easier, and it's very simple to do. In fact, it's as simple as toggling a switch. Simply switch off and switch on, and that you can adjust the settings. So in terms of the how much of the green it keys out, but in fact, this is the sort of setting. As soon as I switched it on, there is no adjustment needed from my side. You can also add a sort of bokeh effect, so blurring the background. I'd actually pre-blurred this picture if that's a thing, but you can do that here as well. And then if you want to have yourself over the back of over the front of, say you were doing a screen sharing and you wanted picture in picture, but rather not so much picture in picture, but your picture over the top of the screen, then you would simply have a transparency mode like that. And then also mask edges is for if you've got a small green screen that doesn't quite reach the edges of the screen, the frame that you're in, then if you click mask edges, it just basically fills out the rest of that screen around you. You can sort of move, pan, zoom and tilt, things like that. And then you've got some picture settings here as well. You can also mirror, add black and white effects, things like that. And that's all just done by down here. But really, the thing about this is it is so much simpler to do than in OBS. And, I've got no issue with getting into sort of technical programs. I'm quite used to quite heavy technical programs, but why make something complicated when there is a simple option is kind of how I'm looking at this. And this does just work. I would say that the green screen specifically does work a lot better than the OBS, just straight out of the box. You can almost just flick it on. And there's a bit of debate about whether people should use green screens. The reason why I do is because, first of all, I'm not in an ideal room for filming in. I'm actually in a sort of concrete basement, so not the most pretty of rooms anyway. But also, I use this setup not just for creating this YouTube video. I mean, these are kind of, this whole channel is really a spin-off from the training videos that I was producing, which are on a sort of slightly unrelated field anyway. And so the scene that I needed for those was something very different to this, which is obviously quite a sort of casual and informal scene. But I also use this whole setup for my daily meetings that I have for work. And so there again, I needed something that looked maybe more formal and for, other use cases as well. So the reason that I find having a green screen is useful, and using the sort of artificial backgrounds, if you like, is because it just allows the flexibility of, having one single desk, one single working space, but being able to use it for multiple different uses and still have a reasonable look. Now, there is a number of things you can do if you are going to go down the green screen route to improve your green screen setup and the results that you get from it, because if you're not careful and you don't take a few little precautions with the way that you have things set up, then it can look really quite bad. And I'll leave you to judge how well you think this one's turned out. But you can get some really bad effects, just as a very brief example. For example, if you've got poor lighting and so you're not getting it all keyed out, things like that. But I'm going to actually do a whole video on green screen setup and how you should have your sort of filming space set up to get the most out of a green screen, if that's something that you're thinking of using. And I'll put a link up just in the top corner as soon as I've got that video out, probably in the next day or so. But anyway, coming back to these panels, so that is the camera effects panel. And yeah, now that we've got the camera effects set up and my camera set up, I don't really need to see that one anymore. And then we've got a series for a panel for sounds, so you can queue up all sorts of different sound effects. So for example, the slight music that I had at the very beginning, you can play and stop that there. Obviously you can click on these, but a whole other video series, and I'm going to do a whole playlist basically on Stream Deck and using it for productivity and video production. So at some point I'll drop a link up to that in the top corner as well. But basically all of these things that I'm talking about here, you can have them just queued up in your Stream Deck, so you can start and stop music and play all these overlays and things like that on your Stream Deck. But that's something for another video, because I could talk for hours on on uses for the Stream Deck. So for now though, let's just carry on with looking at these panels. And so that's the sound effects panel. But again, I don't normally need to have that open while I'm actually doing any filming, because as I say, I've got all the shortcuts in my Stream Deck, and I don't really use a lot of music and sound over the top of that. You've got another panel here which is for levels, so you can adjust mute everything and mute the different sound effects and different components. If you're on interview mode, you can adjust the levels of the other person on the interview there. And so again, this is something that is useful probably to have up all the time, just because it gives you a little visual cue of how the sound is, and more importantly to just make sure that you aren't muted when you shouldn't be. Overlays here I've talked about is where we add on the different effects. So sometimes you could leave that open so that you can select and deselect things like that, or perhaps the lower third. But again, I normally have this linked to my Stream Deck, so I can lower or hide that, or I can add in my Buy Me a Coffee link, something like that. And it's interesting to note that this is actually a web link as well. So this is sort of clickable. And then also if somebody did go, for example, to the page and make a donation there, then if you were doing a live, then it would pop up over the top of the screen to let everybody know. So that's something that, you know, is useful with specifically for live streaming, really. So if I just close that, then the other one obviously is the obligatory don't forget to like and subscribe. So I suppose this makes a good segue into saying, yeah, if you are finding some use in this video and would like to see more of this sort of content, then just do go ahead and click the like, subscribe and the notifications button, and then you'll get notified whenever a new video is made. So yeah, as you can see, that just popped up on the back, and then I'd actually set that onto a timer so that it just disappears automatically. So you can just click, if I click on the button, it will pop up and animate, and then after a few seconds or so it will just disappear. So that is a video overlay. So here you can see this one here is a video overlay, but you can also add timers. So for example, if I look at my live stream starting soon scene, which is this one here, so if I unmute myself, you can see that this is a video overlay. I'll just make this full screen so that you can kind of see how it looks. 1 second. So now you should be seeing this in full screen. And the timer here is an element in ECAMM. So this is added as an element, but I can move it around on the scene. But then this sort of animation here, where it's cycling between different social links, is all something that I made as so this whole frame with the cutout in it, I made in Keynote. And in fact, all of these overlays I just made in Keynote. I do use the Adobe Creative Suite set of applications. So, you know, I could have made animations and things like that in there. However, although I've used Photoshop and Illustrator quite extensively, I've not used the animation packages so much. So although I have made quite a few presentations, so it just seemed logical. And the quickest way of doing it really for me was to make them in Keynote. And it is quite a powerful package for that. So I'll be doing another series of videos, and we'll link to that up at the top, about how you can make animations, overlays and things like that in Keynote. And I'll, as I say, I'll link to that a little bit later as well. So that is things like, for example, my title scene was another one done in Keynote. And you can see it's got sort of semi-transparency. So as it disappears, the image behind it comes out. So that is a sort of very brief overview of what ECAMM Live can do. I think you'll agree the look of it is a much more sort of cleaner interface. And in fact, if we turn down all the things that we don't need, I suppose the one thing that I haven't actually just mentioned is how I was clicking between those different screens. So that's all down this side. You set up these different screens with, like, for example, the main screen here, or we've got this one zoomed in, and then the overlays and things like that I've got. So I've got these all set up. I've got a little top-down shot, which is just I've just repurposed an old Logitech webcam, and so that's how they all look. And so yeah, it's a very clean interface. And by slimming down all of the windows you have open, I'm not sure exactly if that helps with the performance of it. But certainly what I found is that it performs a lot better on my Mac. And although at some points when I'm running a lot of resource heavy applications at the same time, like if I do have to have one of those PowerPoint presentations going, or it's streaming a video, for example, then there can be the same issues I had with OBS, where in the preview window I'm seeing slight juddery frame rate or sort of loss of frames. However, what I found is that in all cases, when I actually review the output from ECAMM Live for the video, it's absolutely perfect, and there is no issues whatsoever with the frame rate at all. And so, yeah, my 8-year-old laptop has still got a few more months at least life in it left, so that is a great piece of news. So yeah, if you're thinking about using OBS and ECAMM Live, I hope that this might have just given you a bit of an insight into the what I've found with it, and the reasons why it might be worth paying something for ECAMM Live. So it is a paid product, but personally I've found that it is more than paid off in terms of what it's allowed me to do, and certainly it's made my workload a lot less by the ease with which I can produce these videos and just throw together the scenes and get things set up just as I wanted them. So I hope that's been useful and given you a bit of insight. If you have got any specific questions about my setup, or if you've got any questions about the software, or any issues that I've run into, or any issues that you've run into that you'd like a bit of advice on, then please drop a message down below. If you've liked the video, then please go ahead and like the video. If you've not liked the video, then give it a thumbs down, and please let me know why, so that I can try and make the next one a little bit better. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Check out these other videos just up here, and I'll see you in the next video.